Welcome back to the archive. Before we plunge into the quiet menace of the Cats of Ulthar, we need to talk about the man who originally wrote it, Howard Phillips Lovecraft. You probably think you know him. You know the basics, Cthulhu, the Necronomicon, and cosmic horror. Maybe you've seen the plush toys or the memes. You might even use the term Lovecraftian as shorthand for squid monster plus existential dread. But here's the problem. The shorthand is an insult to the horror itself. To read Lovecraft is mere monster fiction is to mistake the symptom for the disease. It's like reading the blueprint for a bomb without understanding the psychology of the bomber. Most people don't truly understand Lovecraft because they stop at the monster and miss the man behind the mythos. Lovecraft's most famous line, the most merciful thing in the world, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents, is his autobiography. This wasn't a throwaway quote, it was his life's mission statement. He was a man desperately trying to correlate the chaotic reality of the 20th century with his own rigid, antiquated 17th century mind. His entire universe of indifferent gods and the maddening geometry wasn't invented in a vacuum. It was forged from the emotional wreckage of his own life, his crippling neurosis, his terror of decay, his abhorrence for the modern world. Before we explore the delightful, decisive justice of Ulthar, which, as we'll soon discover, is his wish fulfillment fantasy, we must first understand the philosopher who created that fantasy as an antidote to his profound despair. We're going to peel back the veil, not just on the text, but on the trapped, terrified mind that authored it. Only then can we truly appreciate the full, horrifying scope of his cosmic dread. While prolonged speech isn't necessarily in my wheelhouse, I'll do my best. The following is quite lengthy, and I'm going to try to not turn it into a documentary, but realistically, that's kind of where we're headed with this. So if you want to know more about Lovecraft, by all means, continue listening. And with that, here we go. The man behind the mythos, H.P. Lovecraft's Cosmic Dread. Introduction. The Island of Ignorance. Every discussion of H.P. Lovecraft must begin with his most famous line. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. It's not a throwaway horror quote, it is the author's autobiography. Howard Phillips Lovecraft was a man who lived on the fragile edge of awareness. A man whose mind was constantly trying to correlate contents it was never meant to see. We know his legacy, Cthulhu, the Necronomicon, and the vast, indifferent universe of cosmic horror. But to truly understand the terror in his prose, we must first understand the terror of his life and the specific historical moment he was trying desperately to escape. His existence was a battle between his antiquated high Gothic sensibility and the crude, chaotic reality of the 20th century. His profound sense of dread was not invented. It was built from the emotional wreckage of his childhood and the societal norms he found monstrous. Lovecraft's life was the proving ground for the horror of the unknowable. The trapped mind, battling the modern era. Lovecraft was chronologically a 20th century American, but intellectually and emotionally he was a late Victorian gentleman, stranded in a time he found repellent. He was a man with no stable anchor. His father institutionalized, his mother neurotic, and his own health perpetually frail. This instability led him to seek refuge in two things: the distant stars and the distant past. The cult of the past and the fear of progress. Lovecraft's world was one of perpetual retreat. He adored the beautiful, silent, decaying architecture of colonial Providence because it represented a pure, ordered past. He viewed the advent of cars, skyscrapers, electricity, and jazz as agents of cultural degradation. He was an intellectual anachronism, a mind operated under the assumption of 17th century gentlemanly values while living amidst the roaring, chaotic materialism of the 1920s. His central philosophical belief, Cosmicism, was thus born from deep intellectual despair. When he looked at the scientific avenues or advances of his era, Darwinian evolution, Einstein's relativity, the sheer scale of the known universe, he didn't see progress. He saw the final, terrifying evidence that humanity was a meaningless accident. If science disproved the comforting myths of religion, progress, and centrality, what was left? Only the void. His solution was to live as a nocturnal recluse, communicating prodigiously through meticulously crafted letters. He preferred the abstract elegance of the printed word to the messy, unpredictable reality of human interaction. This choice was partly aesthetic, but primarily a necessity. He was physically and emotionally unsuited for the rapid, noisy, and unseemly pace of contemporary life. The world he wrote about, the world of the mythos, is a world where all human achievements, history, science, art, are instantly nullified by a single terrifying truth. For Lovecraft, the highest form of terror was a realization that the laws of the universe are not built for us. The ecstasy of decay, a Gothic obsession with death. Lovecraft's relationship with death was perhaps the most complex and psychologically revealing aspect of his personality, elevating his work far beyond conventional ghost stories. It was not a fear of death, but an eroticized, morbid fascination inherited from the societal norms of the mid-19th century, then magnified by his aesthetic philosophy. Victorian rituals in the Gothic sublime. Lovecraft grew up at the tail end of the intense Victorian death culture, where mourning was elaborate, solemn, and theatrical. He witnessed somber funerals and the heavy, black-draped grief that followed the deaths of his grandparents and father. This exposure instilled a sense that death was not a dirty secret, but a moment of grand, aesthetic import. For Lovecraft, the sights of decay, ruin, and silence became synonymous with the Gothic sublime, an overwhelming feeling of awe mixed with terror and a profound sense of beauty. He found ecstasy in the stillness of old cemeteries and the crumbling facades of ancient buildings because they represented a beautiful, dead order untouched by modern chaos. Death is uncorporeal liberation. As an uncompromising atheist and materialist, Lovecraft believed there was no soul or afterlife in the Christian sense. Yet he passionately longed for transcendence, a way to escape the galling limitations of his sickly physical body, which he often viewed as a prison. His contradiction fuels the deepest engine of his horror, the corporeal cage. The body is a temporary, easily destroyed shell. In his co-authored story, The Loved Dead, the narrator finds a powerful, unnatural life force and ecstatic passion only in the presence of corpses, viewing the final decay as the ultimate horrific beauty. The corpse is not disgusting, it is a monument to the moment of transcendence. The post-mortal self. Death, therefore, becomes the gateway to the only truth that matters, the uncorporeal. When his protagonists die or go mad, they often achieve a terrifying new state of awareness, sensing new dimensions or slipping out of linear time. Death is the moment the consciousness breaks free of human physics. The great old ones are the perfect reflection of this concept. They are not ghosts or demons. They are immortal, hyper-scientific entities that have already achieved that ultimate formless freedom from biology. Lovecraft's terror is that his freedom comes at the cost of sanity, yet his characters, like the wanderer Randolph Carter, are perpetually drawn to this impossible, forbidden truth. The body electric, physical neuroses, and environmental horror. Lovecraft's deep-seated anxieties were not purely philosophical. They were physical and environmental. His extremely sensitive constitution meant his surroundings were often a source of genuine, acute distress, which he codified into the physical laws of his fictional universe. The terrors of temperature and environment. Lovecraft had an intense aversion to cold weather and a delicate disposition that made him shun daylight. This wasn't merely social awkwardness, it was a physical imperative. artificiality, and decay. His short story, Cool Air, is the perfect literary manifestation of this neurosis. The protagonist encounters a doctor who is prolonging his life past death by maintaining a constant, artificially refrigerated environment. The story presents the horror of defying natural decay through artificial means. The physical shell is preserved, but the human soul is monstrously absent. When the refrigeration fails, the body undergoes a rapid, hideous dissolution, punishing the character for attempting to impose human order upon biological destiny. The Unveiled Self. The story The Outsider is a profound commentary on his mother's psychological abuse, calling him hideous, and his own physical discomfort. The creature seeks connection but realizes in a horrific flash of recognition that its form is universally repulsive. This reflects Lovecraft's lifelong agonizing disconnection from society, a fear that his very physical presence was an unbearable offense to others, which is why he hid in the dark. Atmospheric dread. Many of his tales rely on oppressively heavy air, specific odors, and unsettling climate shifts to signal the arrival of the non-human. The environment itself becomes a hostile, imposing physical and sensory stress on the narrator, mirroring Lovecraft's own low tolerance for any physical deviation from his preferred, quiet, old-world environment. In Lovecraft's world, the body is not just a cage. It is a faulty sensory apparatus that struggles to survive in a universe that actively tries to unmake it, starting with a simple drop in temperature or a whiff of an alien scent. Conceptual chaos, dissolution of mind and structure. Lovecraft's ultimate terror, the moment of cosmic horror, occurs when the mind, faced with the unknowable, loses the structure needed to perceive reality. The Great Old Ones attack the very tools of human comprehension: language, logic, and geometry. The corruption of knowledge and reality. For a man who obsessed over science and books, the idea of forbidden knowledge was paramount. The contents of the Necronomicon are horrifying, not because they reveal a conspiracy, but because they expose the flaw in reality itself. The collapse of mathematics. Lovecraft's use of non-Euclidean geometry in Dreams in the Witch House or at the Mountains of Madness, for example, are the purest intellectual horror. Euclidean geometry is the language of human space. It tells us that parallel lines will never meet and that the old world is stable. Non-Euclidean geometry, by contrast, is the geometry of the old ones, a logic that exists in higher dimensions where space and time warp in impossible ways. Seeing it means the mind's bedrock certainty that 2 plus 2 equals 4 is instantly replaced by a paralyzing multidimensional complexity. The mind breaks down because its basic operating system is corrupted by the truth. The end of human ancestry. The deep ones in the shadow over Innsmouth and the elder things in Mountains of Madness represent the horror of deep time. They show that human history is insignificant, not the whole story, but merely a recent, fragile chapter in a planetary saga spanning millions of years. This reveals that our ancestry is not a source of strength or purity, as Lovecraft wished to believe, but a source of pre-programmed genetic weakness that will eventually revert us to a non-human, monstrous state, the monster of formlessness. Lovecraft's most horrifying entities are often those that defy form and resist description, because they symbolize the breakdown of structure. Shoggoths and amorphous terror. The Shoggoths, bubbling, omnivorous masses of protoplasm, were the greatest creation of the Elder Things, but they became the ultimate existential threat. They are the terrifying embodiment of chaos, able to imitate any form but ultimately retaining none. They represent the final, unstoppable rejection of the beautiful, rigid formality Lovecraft cherished. They are, quite literally, the chaotic, protean threat of the modern age made flesh. In essence, Lovecraft's creations are a horrifying metaphor for the chaotic, formless world of the 20th century that was destroying the beautiful, ordered world of the 17th century he adored. The great old ones are the ultimate indifferent disorder that proves all human effort and order are utterly meaningless. Conclusion for this is a self-delusion of meaning. Lovecraft, the man who yearned for transcendence through death, was also the man who never truly lived. He was a mind of immense power trapped in a frail body, constantly generating an ornate shell of formalism and antiquity to protect himself from the reality of the 20th century. His genius lies in transforming his deepest personal pathologies, his reclusion, his elitist disdain for the modern, his terror of biological and conceptual change, into a universal philosophical dread. The horror of the Cthulhu Mythos is not about a monster. It is the ultimate, inescapable fate of every human being who dares to look beyond the veil. His writing tells us that our sanity is dependent on a curated, placid ignorance. Lovecraft broke that rule for himself and for us. By understanding the terrified, contradictory man, we gain the horrifying insight he intended. In a universe that doesn't care, the only thing that matters is the self-delusion of meaning. The horror is not just out there waiting. The horror is the terrifying realization that you cannot escape the truth of your own insignificance. Hey there, I just need to take a break from the reading. My eyes are going a little bit squirrely, and like I said before, my prolonged speech is not my forte. But understanding Lovecraft before we get into reason for this altogether is important to understand the next story that we're going to discuss and dissect, actually, the Cats of Ulthar. The reason for that is because I have decided to focus the next review on Bruce Brown's graphic novel, which reimagines Lovecraft's The Cats of Ulthar. I think that if Lovecraft were to view it now, he would absolutely love this reimagining. I sure did. But in so doing, to give Bruce Brown's efforts, merit and the review necessary, I had to go back myself and read the original. And we'll get to that here as well, but I want to break it down first and then read it for you. So yeah, I'm going to take another short break and then I'll dive right into that. The Cats of Ulthar, the Fantasy of Order. The Gentle Detour, a fable of aesthetic justice. Before Lovecraft plunged into the abyssal depths of the Cthulhu Mythos, he spent time writing in his dream cycle, a series of fantastical stories heavily influenced by the style of Lord Dunsany. The Cats of Ulthar, 1920, is the crown jewel of this period, a deceptively simple fable that contains a powerful revelation about the author's innermost needs for purity, order, and decisive justice. The story centers on the quaint, ancient town of Ulthar, known simply as the place where no man may kill a cat. This law was established due to the actions of a pair of vile, cruel old cottagers who lived on the outskirts. This couple represented a pocket of meaningless disorder and malice, trapping and murdering cats purely for pleasure, while the townspeople, paralyzed by fear and custom, stood by. The dynamic changes when a caravan of nomadic wanderers arrives. An orphan boy among them, Menace, is deeply devoted to the cats as his only comfort after profound loss. When his own kitten vanishes, Menace performs a ritual, gazing at the moon and drawing symbols on the ground, a quiet act of mythic will that fundamentally alters the spiritual landscape. The next morning, every cat in Ulthar has vanished. That night, the town hears a horrific sound from the cottager's home. When the cats return, sleek and strangely content, the town discovers the old couple has been reduced to 2 clean-picked skeletons. The evidence is silent, undeniable, and universally accepted as aesthetic justice, leading the mayor to pass the eternal law protecting the feline avengers. This fantasy is Lovecraft writing the kind of world he wished he lived in, a realm where cosmic law is responsive to grief and beauty, and where ugliness is instantly purged. The fantasy of order, an antidote to modern chaos. The plot of the Cats of Ulthar serves as a direct, wish-fulfillment antidote to the crushing philosophical despair detailed in the main essay. In the mythos, Lovecraft posits that humanity is a meaningless accident and civilization is a thin shell over chaos. In Ulthar, he reverses this. Civilization, the beautiful town, is not meaningless. It is valuable, and any element of true disorder, the cruel couple representing the unpredictable, ugly impulses of the mob in the modern world, must be purged. Ulthar embodies the Gothic sublime. It is an ancient, quiet, and architecturally perfect sanctuary. When Lovecraft looked at Providence, he saw his idealized 17th century order being contaminated by 20th century noise and change. In Ulthar, the cats become the police force of the sublime, acting with silent, effortless grace to maintain the peace and purity of the ancient town. They are the non-human defenders of an aesthetic code. Decisive annihilation, the cleanliness of death. The fate of the old couple is the most revealing link between this simple tale and Lovecraft's deep-seated obsession with death and decay. The cruel couple's end is immediate dissolution into bone. In the mythos, this is the terrible consequence of exposure to ultimate truth. In Ulthar, it is the consequence of ultimate wickedness. Lovecraft's philosophy hated the messy, drawn-out process of biological decay, the galling limitations of the corporeal cage. The cats deliver a swift, clean, almost surgical destruction. This total erasure of the imperfect physical form is the ultimate judgment. It represents the triumph of the uncorporeal force, the collective will and mythic power of the cats over the corrupt, ugly physical shell of the humans. The old couple is not merely murdered, they are aesthetically cleansed, their remains rendered into pristine skeletons. This kind of clean ending is a rare moment of satisfaction in Lovecraft's work, where death is not a source of lingering terror, but a decisive act of purification. The aesthetic police force, a solution to conceptual chaos. Finally, the nature of the cat's power addresses Lovecraft's terror of conceptual chaos. In his cosmic horror, the monstrous Shoggoths represent formless, amorphous, uncontrollable chaos. The cats, by contrast, are the epitome of ordered, beautiful, decisive power. They are a unified, focused, non-human entity, a horde of graceful, silent terror that acts with a single, clear purpose: vengeance for life. Logic works, but it's mythic. Unlike the overwhelming non-Euclidean geometry that shatters the mind in the dreams in the witch house, the power in the Cats of Ulthar is a magic that works. It is unknowable. It is an unknowable force, summoned by the ritual of the orphan menace, but its result is perfectly logical within the story's framework. Lovecraft allows himself to indulge in the fantasy that the universe can be responsive, provided the appeal is made through genuine emotional purity and ritual, granting him a rare moment of imaginative control over the terrors of the void. The Cats of Ulthar is thus a crucial piece for understanding the man behind the mythos. It is the counter-myth, the beautiful lie Lovecraft told himself about a universe that, if governed by ancient, quiet, aesthetic laws, might just be worth enduring. Then I do want to narrate the story itself, written by Lovecraft. I'm going to do my best. I don't know if I have a narrator's voice for this, and I've been trying to take care of it so I can get through this video without hacking. But here we go. We'll give it a shot. The Cats of Ulthar, 1920, by H.P. Lovecraft. It is said that in Ulthar, which lies beyond the river sky, no man may kill a cat, and this I can verily believe as I gaze upon him who sitteth, purring before the fire. For the cat is cryptic, and close to strange things which men cannot see. He is the soul of antique Egyptus, and bearer of tales from forgotten cities in Moreau and Ulthar. He is the king of the jungle's lords, and heir to the secrets of hoary and sinister Africa. The Sphinx is his cousin, and he speaks her language, but he is more ancient than the Sphinx, and remembers that which she hath forgotten. In Ulthar, before the men of Leng came with the caravan, there dwelt an old cotter and his wife, who took a curious delight in trapping and slaying any cat which passed their way. Why they did this, none could tell, for they were quiet folk, and otherwise did no one harm. But they loved to catch and kill cats, till the sight of one of Ulthar's sleek, furry citizens made them glow with a wicked relish. From no house neighbor to them could a cat be safe, and once the cottager was seen by the dreamer Atal to catch a fearful black kitten off the caravan of the Dark Wanderers and to squeeze out its life as he laughed. Now the Dark Wanderers were a swarthy, strange folk, whose like had never been seen in Ulthar before. They had come in a long line of wagons with uncouth beasts and unheard-of possessions, and they spoke a tongue no man in Ulthar could understand. Through the streets of Ulthar they had passed, and to the open space on the hill beyond the town they had made their camp. The folk of Ulthar, when they had seen the wanderers' faces, counseled one another to keep fast their doors at night, but they did not fear the wanderers' cats, for the cats were quiet and sleek and friendly, coming to lie on the hearths of the citizens when the campfires were low. Of all the wandering folk, the most noticeable was the small boy Menace, who had no father nor mother, but only a tiny black kitten to share his loneliness. Menace loved his kitten and cried when it followed the other cats to the cottage of the old couple, for he knew the evil fate of all felines in Ulthar and wondered why the dark folk did not move on. Then one day Menace saw the caravan moving and noticed that the kitten was not with the other cats. In his grief, the boy did a thing no man in Ulthar had ever seen before. He thought a prayer and sent it forth, in the manner of the people he had seen in his native land, to the stars. He prayed to the stars and drew upon a tablet the symbol of the cats he had known, and then he was seen no more. The other wanderers, when they missed Menace, seemed not to care, but on the evening after the caravan had gone, the people of Ulthar noticed that there were no cats about. Every house had been searched and every alley explored, but not a cat could be found. The people were perplexed, and old Cranon, the burgomaster, feared that the dark folk had taken the cats in revenge. Then they remembered the wicked old man and his wife, and a cold shudder ran through them. But the next day the cats were back, all of them, and sleeker and fatter than ever. They leaped and played and purred, and their eyes were bright with a strange fire. That night a frightful sound was heard from the cottage of the old couple, a shriek of such inhumane agony that many citizens barred their windows and hid under their beds. No one dared approach the cottage until morning. In the light of day, the townspeople, led by old Cranon, went to the cottage. The door was ajar, and inside they found nothing but two clean-picked skeletons on the floor. There was no sign of a struggle, no blood, nothing but bone. As the shocked townspeople gathered, the Cats of Ulthar began to reappear, streaming back into the village, sleek, well-fed, and strangely contented. Old Cranon, a wise man, understood. That very day the burgomaster of Ulthar, old Cranon, passed the famous law that stands to this hour, engraved upon the stone gate of the city. In Ulthar, no man may kill a cat. This story was written by H.P. Lovecraft in June 1920, and was first published in the amateur press journal The Tryout in November 1920. I'm going to kind of wing this part here, but as you're going to see on your screen, these are probably some of the most well-known works by Lovecraft through the years. The reason that I think this is notable is this is not the sum of everything that he did. This is just the notable works within the dream cycle, the early Gothic stuff, and of course the Cthulhu Mythos and everything branching cosmic horror within a 10 or 12 year span. He's got 2 or 3, long format novels that did come out posthumously, which I thought was interesting. I always thought that a lot of these were like full-length novels, and most of it is actually really short story format. But he's got an incredible amount of poetry, and there's essays, plus ghost-written revisions of other stories, which we're not going to get into here because we're already at a half hour for the video. But as you're watching, when I decided to really do this foundational backstory, which I think is paramount to really understanding the Cats of Ulthar, I was really intrigued by Lovecraft's psyche for one, but also authors previous to him, because it's like, I don't know if it's the right word, but hegemony. The further that I went back, you can tell where there's, I don't want to say assimilation, but familiarization, similarities, but also particular styles. Now, a lot of Lovecraft's work is very reminiscent of Poe, and you can see that in a lot of Lovecraft's early work. That led me to look into Edgar Allan Poe, who, quite honestly, is quite similar in his earlier work to some of Mary Shelley's work. This really got me thinking about the whole history of horror genre. Like, where did it even begin? And I'm trying to piece together an op-ed. I don't want to call it like purely nonfiction, because it certainly isn't. So more like an op-ed, because I can't cite everything, so it's not going to be nonfiction. It's definitely not fiction because we know the stories exist. And so far I am down to, or traced it back to Pliny, and there'll be more details on this for sure, just because I would like to know, outside of the uncontemporary, word of mouth storytelling around the fires way back when, what can we really trace the roots down to, with proven published works in a written form. So I'm going to work on that project. It's not going to be any, it won't be finished anytime soon. I guess that's where I'm going with that. But at any rate, let me wrap this up. And we will wrap this up in my conclusion: the prophet of panic and the modern zeitgeist. The story of H.P. Lovecraft is a profound paradox, a forgotten recluse who, through the sheer intensity of his personal fears, became the undisputed architect of the 21st century dread. The exhaustive study of his life, his Gothic sensibilities, his neurotic isolation, his obsession with aesthetic cleansing through death, and his pathological fear of dissolution reveals not just a strange man, but the psychological engine that powered the mythos. In the end, Lovecraft's power derives from 3 core qualities that keep his work fiercely relevant, mysterious, and controversial today. The power of inadequacy. Lovecraft achieved iconic status by replacing the human hero with the terrified observer. He taught us that the greatest horror is not malicious but indifferent. Traditional monster stories offer a promise: if you can identify the evil, you can fight it. Lovecraft stripped that away, proving that the unknowable is both the source of life's meaninglessness and the root of ultimate terror. His work remains iconic because he provided a vocabulary for the modern human condition, a sense of existential inadequacy. The moment his protagonists realized their laws of physics, their history, and their sanity are merely a placid island of ignorance. Floating on a boundless sea of cosmic truth, they collapse. This intellectual vulnerability is universal, making a creature like Cthulhu, who merely sleeps waiting for the alignment of the stars, utterly unconcerned with mankind, the perfect symbol for the vast non-human systems that govern our lives. The persistence of paradox. Lovecraft remains a mysterious figure because the elegance of his fiction exists in perpetual tension with the ugliness of his biography. His appeal is the result of a profound paradox. He rejected the material world, yet his monsters are purely material. He hated life, yet his stories are about the struggle to survive knowledge. He championed absolute order, Victorian aggression, yet he birthed ultimate chaos, Azathoth. He was a man who idealized rigid structure, but his greatest contribution was the ultimate philosophical demolition ball. The mystery is in the transmutation. How did such a narrow, limited, fearful, and problematic man conjure a universe so expansive, so terrifying, and so universally relatable? The answer is that he took his most visceral, personal fears, the disintegration of his architecture, the contamination of his pure past, the failing of his own body, and externalized them into cosmic scientific law. The mystery is solved only when we accept that his fiction is a detailed, horrifying self-portrait projected onto the scale of the universe. The terror of the system. In 2025, Lovecraft's work is controversial, not just because of the repulsive social views of its author, but because we must constantly reconcile the contemptuous origin with the powerful result. Modern readers do this by shifting the focus from the author's social fear to the resulting horror of scale. This is why Lovecraft is essential to current zeitgeist. Our most profound contemporary anxieties are Lovecraftian in nature. Climate dread, the realization that an indifferent titanic force, the biosphere, is eroding civilization without malice, entirely outside our capacity to negotiate or defeat. Technological nomina, the rise of artificial intelligence and vast data networks, represents the ultimate unknowable entity. We rely on systems whose complexity exceeds human comprehension. Systems that operate on an alien logic that could shatter our economic and social reality, not out of cruelty, but out of pure indifference. Lovecraft's legacy endures because he gave us the crucial warning: ignorance is mercy. He defined the rules of the game where knowledge leads to a madness, and where the universe we inhabit is merely a temporary, fragile bubble of sanity. He is the mysterious prophet of our modern, systemic panic, and his unsettling truth will haunt popular culture as long as humanity feels small in the face of impossible scale. Then finally, I just want to say, if you've stuck around with me this long, I really appreciate it and thank you. And if you have stuck around this long, please consider a like and subscribe. It does kind of fuel the endeavors here, not necessarily to do the book reviews. I'm going to do them anyway because I love them. Those do help the authors. I mean, it might not seem like it does, but they really do. Even if there isn't a like or a subscribe on the channel itself, it does get noticed, and that's been fueling some of the authors' sales. But at any rate, interest in videos like this would really kind of help guide where I want to do certain things. Reviewing is absolutely going to remain the top priority here, as I do really enjoy doing that. But also, I mean, other endeavors, you get creative impulses when you're just doing one thing. It always branches out. I have the mind of an author, that, right? But yeah, at any rate, even if you don't, do the like and subscribe, as we do on the channel through every video, we like to praise the algorithm gods, so at least the consideration is helpful. Any comments are definitely going to be helpful, as a lot of some of the authors that we have covered are actually members here too, and they do see your comments. And we have had in the past where the authors themselves have updated on the works we've covered. And I'd like that to continue. I think that's the community I was striving for at any rate. And, it's very beneficial for them. It gives them, that two-way communication or line of communication so that they can hear what you're thinking as a reader. But at any rate, we've been at this long enough today. Well, for this video anyway, there's a couple more in the pipes. But at any rate, see you next time on the Veiled Archive.